Okay. Hello again. Welcome, come well to another episode. Am I as I am as you are? Today's episode we're gonna build on the principle of worship. What is worship? What does it mean to truly worship something? Why do we worship something? How do we utilize worship? So basically, I'm going to zoom in and magnify in on the word worship and the principle of what worship represents. A lot of different belief systems kind of adopted this word and incorporated it into their system, but it's not really based upon belief. It's more deeper than belief. It's actually something, or in a way, it's something that you're doing or find yourself doing and don't know why you're doing it, which means that it has nothing to do with brain play. You can either choose to worship or unconsciously worship something or subconsciously worship something. I guess we'll dive deeper into that and as we go along with the video. And of course, you know the procedure as usual. We'll take it line for line, doorway for doorway, and then walk down this hallway together. Okay? Every doorway leads into a hallway, every hallway leads into a doorway. Okay, of course, you know I'm your host, Amias Azium. This is once again my line that I'm wearing, Amias Azium. Amias Azium. Am I as I am? Which is why this whole video cast is based upon this kind of wording, because it's am I as I am and as you are, leaving it at its most least common denomination, your most purest natural form or being or true self. And this is the reason why I channel things that come to me, because I'm remaining in my moment. I'm remaining in the moment, the only thing in true existence, which is why you are live here right now, and which is why I am live. Okay, so just wanted to say that and get it out the way. I guess we can dive into the first line, the first doorway of today's episode. Well, worship, basically, what is worship? According to the definition of what worship is the feeling or expression of reverence and adoration for a deity. The feeling or expression of reverence and adoration for a deity. What is a deity? A deity is something of divine status, or basically divine status, quality, and nature. This is what a deity is. Okay, so once again, worship definition, the feeling or expression of reverence, to revere something, and adoration, to adore something for a deity. A deity is something of divine status, quality, and nature. See, so status, quality, and nature, it's something saying what. In other words, where, and where. There's no location. Don't look for a location of what you're worshiping. Something is just divine. It's something that can't be explained but can be experienced. Okay, so what you are experiencing or may experience or can choose to experience. The extended definition of worship is extravagant respect or admiration for or devotion to a thing. A thing like principle. You're devoted to principle. So basically, even if you choose to admire a person and personality, even if you choose consciously to admire a person or personality, it's still equivalent to worshiping principle and principles. Because you may like a person, but you don't like a person because of their body and their skin and their presence. You like them for how they're animating themselves to you, according to the reflection which comes back to you from your interaction with them. They may show you hospitality, nurture, care, communication, interaction, interfacing, touch, contact, speech. See, these are just principles. So when you embrace a person or personality, you're actually, in actuality, embracing the principle which they represent, the principle which is disguised behind the mask and costume that you think that they are in their image. So this is the whole how we're going into this today at the moment. Okay. And also want to touch upon the word faith. Faith. The definition of faith is complete trust or confidence in someone or something. Complete trust or confidence in someone or something. Spiritual apprehension rather than truth. Spiritual apprehension rather than truth. Firm assurance. No, I'm going by these definitions, but it's actually just leaving kind of like a ghost form. I'm explaining things to you, but words like complete trust, confidence in something, spiritual apprehension, assurance, going back to deity, divine status, quality, nature, worship, expression, reverence, adoration, extravagant respect or admiration for, devotion to a thing, which means that it doesn't necessarily mean a form or it is physicalized or crystallized just yet. So while I'm saying these words and I'm explaining these things to you in the way that I'm explaining to you, it's not really leaving you something to witness as within a physical form. It's actually something visible, something transparent, something intangible in a certain way. That's what it's kind of explaining. I'm sure you would agree with me as well. So as we go into it, I guess we can go into the first line, the first doorway of today's episode. So let's go into it. The first line is, as you begin to worship principle, personality-wise, you immediately begin to unlayer, unravel, annihilate, obliterate, become nothing, unmask, shed, destruct, deploy, eject, exit as you begin to worship principle. What happens to your personality? Your personality goes through this as you begin to worship principle or begin to worship. But whatever you're worshiping is principle. Not the person or the personality or the personal, but the principle. The thing behind the curtain. The unseen thing, the hidden aspect behind the curtain. Okay? So what happens to your personality, what happens to my personality as I begin to worship principle? This is what happens to your personality as you begin to worship principle. You begin to unravel, unlayer, you begin to annihilate, it begins to obliterate itself, become nothing, you unmask, you shed, you destruct, you deploy, you eject, you exit. So basically, you begin to detect your own insignificance, personality-wise. And this occurs because your current perfected personality, which is now becoming a prior personality, is not getting and no longer getting your acknowledgement, attention, and action. So therefore begins to fade. It begins to become something that is no longer, something that becomes prior, past, a was, rather than as. You are an as. Your true nature, your life force is an as thing, a thing that is as. Your personality becomes a was as you begin to worship principle. Um, so this identity destruction that happens when you're worshiping principle, you being the principle, worshiping principle, this identity destruction is an automatic happening, happens automatically. It is an automatic simultaneous happening that automatically happens due to abandonment, neglect, and starvation of the old personality. So as you begin to worship principle, to worship a thing, um, your image, your personality, your character, your behavior, your identity begins to die. So whatever you're worshiping, you soon infuse into and become. So if you're somebody and you're something, if you're worshiping this nothing, this thing, you become this nothing, this thing, you become this zero. See, so personality, identity, character, and behavior is something that is of great importance and value to itself. But there is no importance and value when it comes to principality. Principality is based on divine qualities, quality, quality. It's not value. Value is something that which is measured, like self-grandizement, the person that you appear to be, which is nothing but an identity that never truly existed. This person that you see right now in front of you on this video, Amias Asium, never existed. This is just a personality. Okay, and this is what the spirit does. It creates a personality according to its experience, and is but still, or basically deriving from its true existence, having a delusional experience. But no matter how much the experience expands, it still remains within its true source point of existence. Okay, which is truly nothing. Which is why the yogis and gurus in ancient times are dealing with ancient technology and ancient structures and science of mind. Seance, because science is seance, seance of mind. Always told you about the emptiness. You get that from Zen and Buddhism. They always talking about the empty, the emptiness, the nothingness, zero, and so on. This is what you truly are. The who is neither here nor there. It never existed. But the what is the thing behind the curtain. You are hidden in plain sight. You see me, right? No, you don't. I'm hidden in plain sight. I'm hidden in plain sight. Okay. The next line in doorway is your direction of attention becomes fixed when worshiping. Your direction of attention becomes fixed when worshiping. A tunnel vision, and laser focus. And laser focus of pure, untouched, untapped devotion. This is what happens when you begin to worship. A devotion to that specific thing you chose to worship or may have found yourself worshiping, consciously or unconsciously. See? So basically worship is your direction of attention becoming fixed. You become fixed in a certain kind of direction of attention towards this thing for some reason. You may be doing it consciously because you want to enhance or do certain things with yourself, within yourself, as yourself, or something may just happen that is totally out of your control. You become fixed on that thing. Okay? So it's basically a devotion to that specific thing that you choose to worship or find yourself worshiping for whatever reason, known or unbeknownst to you. Okay? The next line or doorway is, to worship is to completely let go of yourself and that physical thing, the person, which is in the focused way or focusing way of the non-physical thing, principle, which is being worshipped. So it's to completely let go of yourself and that physical thing, which is the person, which is in the focused way or focusing way of the non-physical thing, which is principle, which is being worshipped. So you're letting go of yourself, you're letting go of the person. It's not really about letting go of the person or letting go of yourself. You just see an insignificance of holding on to something, but it doesn't necessarily bring down the value of what that individual means to you. You just are able to see through them transparently, but it doesn't make them less important or less special or less valuable to you in any way. But you're able to see that which is them and not have them block you from getting to the that they truly are. Okay? So basically, to let go and let be in order to let see. Let go and let be in order to let see. Okay? The next line in doorway is, when you are worshiping, you immediately become irrelevant and unimportant to yourself. You become your own void. You begin to rid yourself, to retrieve back or recede back to your zero state of being. To be at zero is to be at a constant state of nothing but pure potential. Yes, every potential becomes a possibility, and we are at the place where potential is going to turn into a possibility eventually, sooner or later, ultimately, because this is the realm of doing. No matter how much you're being, you're going to start doing something. But this is to recognize that potential of your nothing, of your being, and be able to do from the platform or the broadcasting of your being. You're able to broadcast from the platform of your being and participate and volunteer in the doing ways of this reality. So you immediately become irrelevant and unimportant to yourself. And that's basically based upon the humbling of self. You humble yourself. It's okay to be the fool. It's cool to be the fool. So that's the whole point. You begin to rid yourself. You become your own void. In other words. And every void is to be fulfilled, which is why every being, you can say, I'm being all you want, but you're going to begin doing at some point, because this is the realm of doing. You're going to do something because you have hands, you have arms, you have legs, you have a voice, you have an image, you have things to do. But when you worship, you become immediately, you become a void within yourself, as yourself, by yourself. Cranberry juice, of course. When you begin to rid yourself, and as you do this, when I said before in the beginning, the unlayering and unraveling, as this unlayering and unraveling is happening, you begin to recede back. The more it unlayers, the more you retrieve and recede back to the true aspect of what you truly are. So the more it's unlayering, the more this thing begins to go back and back and back and back. The more you unlayer and unravel, this thing goes back. It's a receding process. You retrieve yourself. No matter how far you let yourself go out there, you pull yourself back to the black. the hidden aspect, the occult or the occultum, the darkness of, which is basically just saying that which is unidentified and can't be identified, but what can only be felt and experienced and known. Okay, this is where faith and everything else comes in. Okay, the next line of doorway is whatever you worship is in your focus. Whatever you choose to worship is in your focus. Everything else in existence behind the witnessing of your worship, behind your eyes and your body, doesn't exist and doesn't matter and doesn't matter. It doesn't matter no more, including you. Meaning it doesn't go to manifest into matter because your attention is directed elsewhere. It's not invested, your attention is not invested into the matter or the material vehicle no more. It's there somewhere. And no longer on that self, the itself. So therefore, that which is matter and was matter no longer materializes any further. What do you mean by that? Well, I'm just saying, you no longer invest into your personality and identity anymore. It becomes a thing of the past. Irrelevant, once again. Insignificant. And it happens like that naturally. It's not something that you have to put into motion or put into process. It progresses like that on its own. Once you're no longer paying attention or giving your time and experience and attention and acknowledgement into this illusional vehicle anymore. That just happens on its own. Okay? It's a natural doing. A natural effect from the cause of you worshiping. Okay? The next line of doorway is worship can happen consciously or unconsciously. It can be something you choose to do or something that chooses you. In a way of understanding, you can either choose or be chosen, or both simultaneously. Keep in mind to not religify it, nothing wrong, but keep in mind to not religify it, physicalize it, or personify it. Don't give it an address. Just silently and privately address it inwardly, innately. From inward toward inward. From inward toward inward. Get that? From unknown remaining unknown. That's it. An unknown location directing its self-redirection back towards itself. So therefore, in other words, just keep it there. Wherever it derived from, whatever foundation it sprouted from, just keep it there. Don't paint a picture around it. Don't give it a structure. Don't give it a mold. Don't make it a physical thing. Don't entrap it within third density. Just keep it wherever it came from. You have to learn how to do this, to keep it there. But utilize it in certain ways and play with it while you're in third density as well. But as you play with it in third density or the third dimensional realm, keep it in the realm which it derived from while you play with it in this realm that it arrived in. Okay? It's very important. Because, it's like I said, once again, it's something that you can consciously choose to happen or you can make happen consciously when you want to worship something, a person, because the person may be causing a lot of static personality-wise. You're like, you know what? Even though they do this and they make me feel this way, and they may piss me off, make me mad, make me angry, throw me off, confuse me, make me emotionally unstable, maybe I just need to worship the qualities which keep me balanced that they express to me, like the care or the love or the nurturing or whatever you are feeling from them that has nothing to do with their personality. They may be pissed off and yell at you and scream at you, but then an hour later they may make you some food. Or later that night, you may argue in the earlier part of the day, but then later at night you always know that they massage you. So they're showing care and nurture. These principles are what you want to separate from their personality. And therefore, you don't become as personal with them or with this illusional reality, which we are currently live within. Okay? Okay, the next doorway, next line is worship has nothing to do with uh, any kind of belief systems. It has more to do with knowing and faith. You just know it. You don't know why you know it. You just know it. It's an unknown knowing or a known unknowing. Something that is faith. It can be recognized with one having a knowledge of its existence as well by acknowledging its existence. It can also be realized and recognized by seeking something beyond the current illusion you placed yourself in or found yourself within, which is here. In order to have a moment of silence, sanity, and clarity, in order to create a void within yourself to be or become receptive to other things which may be communicating to you and through you. Don't search for a reason of why within this phenomenally unknown happening. Just accept it, experience it, let it be and become it. Surrender to it. See, so you may know what keeps you sane, clear, and balanced within yourself and centered. It's the principles which this personality is conveying to you. Okay? Just make sure you stay focused on that. You just know that you have to do this. You know that you have to worship this principle that she or he possesses. And the more you're able to do that, the more you're able to understand space. I don't want to say separation, but you understand space and you respect space. And then once you respect space, you become space. And once you become space, you come to the understanding that there is no true closure without space. So give a little space from you and your personality. Give a little space from you and your identity. Give a little space between you and your character. Give a little space between you and your behavior. Therefore, give a little space between your personality and their personality in order to see behind the veil of their personality, which is true principle, which is the one thing that you truly embrace. Okay? Worship that. Worship worship the principles that keep you balanced and sane and clear within yourself that they express to you. You don't necessarily have to worship them. Personalities collide. Identities clash. Why would you want to meet there? Personality, identity, character, and behavior is nothing but a certain form of animation that the life force is animating to you according to their experience, according to the program which they were programmed by their parents, friends, family, society, environment, atmosphere, experiences. They're just a program. I'm just a program. You're just a program. Why are you taking the program so serious? Okay? Don't worry about the program. And even if you are kind of thrown off by their program, learn and master on changing your virtual reality. Program, virtual reality, and program. Learn how to master your virtual reality if you're in a certain program that you don't find beneficial to your nature and your agenda and your path and your calling. Learn to switch your program, change the motherboard, remove the chip, psychological chip. See? So you are a psychological somatic being, which means mind, emotion. Learn how to govern these realms or how to manipulate and orchestrate this into your benefit. And how do I do that? By not becoming so personal with this damn vehicle. This thing is meant to get emotional. It's meant to get pissed off. It's meant to get angry. It's meant to get happy. It's meant to do whatever it is that physical realm governs. Whatever you are governed within this physical realm is meant to do these things. But you are not this and you are not that. There's something beyond this. And once you understand what beyond is, beyond doesn't mean in front of you and forward. Beyond means prior to. Beyond means behind, before, the primordial point, source. That's what beyond means. That's why you have sequels of movies, and these sequels of these characters, these people, are actually going back before the storyline, which is what is known as a prequel. That's the spiritual aspect. Okay. The next line in Dory is, when worshiping, you can utilize it in order to keep yourself a certain way and or to turn yourself into something. See, to turn yourself into a centered being or an emotional, balanced individual. But make sure you're using it. Make sure you're using the principle of worship. Please make sure you're using it genuinely, truthfully, and in honesty. What kind of honesty? Self-honesty. Honest with yourself and honest with why you're utilizing this for the reason that you choose to utilize it for. It's supposed to work for you. Everything here is supposed to work for you. You don't become enslaved to it, because it's just an energy, which means that it's just an extreme. Extreme has no limits. It's not looking for what's fair and what's not fair. It's just an extreme. Energy is just an extreme. You have to know how to put this chaos or this chaotic extreme thing into a certain kind of order to work for you and your extreme mind, your energetic being. Okay, so this is just once again mastering of self to some degree. Okay, not perfection, mastering of self. Okay, and just make sure, like I said, once you're doing it, worship, make sure you're worshiping in pure honesty and truth, and be honest to yourself. I'm saying, use it on the grounds of truth and travel on that truth with pure honesty. True and honest to self. Okay, all right. Next line of doorway is, once again, I want to touch upon just devotion and commitment. Devotion and commitment is also very important. Be devoted to and be committed to it, because while you're being devoted and committed, while worshiping a principle, you're actually being devoted and committed to yourself. How do you know? Because this is a paradoxical reality. You become that, or that which interacts with that is one of my quotes. That which interacts with that is that. You have to decode it and decipher how that is, because it is, and you are. Okay? So just learn how to, dissipate and evaporate into that energy. Okay? Next line in doorway is, there's no need to understand your mate. Don't try to understand your mate, your significant other, your wife, or your husband, or your partner, your companion, whatever you want to call them, whatever you want to call this thing. Don't try to understand your mate, because when you try to understand her or understand him, it's equivalent to dissecting them. It's equivalent to fractioning them. You're placing them in fractions. They're not a math equation. Placing them in parts and categories. What are you doing? Just experience your mate and worship the principles which are conveying to you from their care for you. That's all you have to do. Okay? Let's say you'll be a lot less personal, and there'll be a lot less more personality colliding and identity clashing. Okay? Next line of doorway is, create an entity to worship. Create your own entity that you want to worship. Create it. You can even have it in statues. You can create sexuality. You can create, femininity, whatever you want to create to worship your, let's say, because these things are feminine, you're a woman. You want to worship her beauty. You want to worship her sexuality. Create your own entity, not just as statues, but as a status, a quality within yourself that only you can see through them, but not ignoring them, but you see through them as well. You also see them and see beyond them as well. Okay, this is a practice, a certain kind of practice and methods and techniques that you can indulge in when and if you choose to. If you choose to. The next line of doorway is worship is like, piety, worship deity, adoration or adore. What is worship? Worship is adoration. Worship is adoring. You're adoring something within this person. They don't have to know it. You can tell them if you want, but they don't have to know it. It's something private within your mind and your mind and your heart. Something that you keep in mind and heart. Keep in mind. Worship is loyalty, stay loyal to that which you are worshiping. Veneration, glorify, admire, exalt, canonize, lionize, magnify. You're magnifying something. You're here to please it, to appease it, to satisfy. It's a delight. It has to be this pure within you. You have to be true to it and remain new to it. Always be willing and open to other possibilities of every situation and circumstance which arises and unfolds before you with the interaction of that person and you. Be open to the understanding of transformation, moment to moment transformation, day to day transformation, week to week transformation, month to month transformation, year to year transformation, and so on and so on and so on as it goes on, as you go on, as they go on. Never entrap them within a past mind state, because you're never ever going to be able to invest or extract the principle which they represent. Okay, so you worship principle like this in order to ridicule, desecrate, and defame the ego, which you think that you are or which you are playing. You worship principle like this in order to ridicule, desecrate, and defame the ego, personality, and identity, to completely annihilate it. And after the annihilation is done, after this is burnt up, that which is left after the burn is who and what you truly are. Understand? Okay, so there will be a part 2 to this, but for now we'll keep it at here, at this level right now, at this point, and everything remains a continuation, as usual, as always, and always. Amias Asium, am I as I am, as you are. 1, 0.